Yeah, it the distracting part of constantly having then you start to, like, defend yourself early because you're like, "This is a part of it." So I've been just so I don't know, I'm, like, in this phase of, I did content creation for so long, I'm like, I find myself realizing, like, what I came here to say stuff, and I spend most of it trying to figure out how to tell y'all, "You're not listening." And now I'm not saying and then I'm arguing and then you feel like I'm doing such a good job because I'm listening to her explain how sometimes we're not great listeners. We're so far from where I thought I was starting.
And so it's like, so I did this specifically today when I saw that everyone was coming to the comments with splaining. I deleted the video. I put additional text on it and then I posted it again. And now I'm refusing to engage with their comments other than to just say, oh, clearly you did not read or listen to the video. Like, I don't care
Yeah. It
what
doesn't
you're making.
matter.
And
Yeah.
then it's like, I'm now coming off as the unreasonable one. And I am like, going to go make a very detailed video about this and just be like, why? Like, it has to do with the like normalize the response to the question. Like when you ask just a question and
They're
somebody's
never.
response is explosive in return, I wish just people would just think about why. It's that like,
Yeah.
they talk about like, I've seen people talk about this when they talk about like impact versus intent and like
Hmm.
you're trying to figure out the intent, but like, say people have just been slapping you all day. Everybody's just slapping you, right? And finally, like I come up behind you and I tap you and you turn around and punch me in the face. And I'm like, whoa, like I was just tapping you. And it's like, it's
Right.
the it's the all of it. It's the
Yeah. But
every
like,
time I
be more
post.
careful next time. Don't touch people, you know?
Right, right, exactly. Where it's like, none of it was right, none of it was okay, and, like, every time I post anything about the military, which is my job, I just have to know that I'm just gonna have all these people, civilian and non, coming to explain to me, and it's just like and then I get more upset than I would just for any individual comment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm like, I,
Yeah.
I can't believe it, because I'm not even, whatever. It's fine. I had did so much editing, but it doesn't matter. And so once I realized it really doesn't matter that you put exactly everything. They didn't, it does not matter because they're not listening. You guys aren't having actual conversations where you have to listen, take in, and digest. They're consuming. It's just consuming.
Mhm.
It's take in, what is it? And then they give back aura, that agree, understand, relate, approve. They give you back
Yeah,
their part of the transaction.
'cause
Ew.
that's 'cause that's what I was thinking. I was just like, it's so obvious that they get, all anyone is hearing from this video is me saying, I don't like it when civilians remind soldiers of their oath. And then they're bringing all their own context about all this background stuff that's going on and all their outrage. And they clearly just stopped. They stopped listening. They didn't read and they're coming to the right. And I was just like,
They got worked out. You don't like
and then
something.
I will turn off the comments on something, and then people will act like that is just the biggest sin of my
You're
life, and
silencing them,
I think it's
actually,
so
Daniella.
funny. I know every
You're
single
silencing them.
I'm silencing them, and I'm a cult leader, and I'm like and they can't understand that it's like, I don't want to have this conversation all day, right? Like,
No, yeah.
I want this video to stay up, I made it for a reason. I do not want to have this conversation all day, so I'm like,
Yeah, and
opting out.
especially because your audience is mostly white people, you're not getting so there's a difference here is that I don't, we just obviously it's different. I don't like, I think different is different. I don't think better or worse or whatever. I always leave mostly everything. I rarely block. Because I need part of me, I guess, also wants white people to see what it looks like, how repetitive it is.
Mhm.
But I also have my own version of Social Security in there. I have Black women in my life, one. So I have a sense of reality around it. I can leave it. I have Black women who agree with me because I'm a Black woman and I'm saying something they agree with. So they're in the comments saying whatever I would have said if I can slow myself down and stay out of the comments, back when I was in them anyway. And I have
Yeah.
had white people that I have built an understanding of. what is appropriate and what is not. And once they see the patterns, it's very clear. So they say the stuff in there. And that is very rewarding to
Yeah.
me. You're not going to
Yeah.
necessarily get that with your audience. Like maybe if you have people, because I know
I
you
guess
have a
to a
couple of
certain
mods that are
effect,
my
it's
mods
like,
too.
so to a certain extent, part of why I respond to stuff is because I want people to see this. I want people to see like how ridiculous this is. That like you're not just assuming I don't know, you are just assuming I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm not just like someone. I'm like a whole ass army captain, Like,
Right.
and
I'm
it just,
black, by the way. Like,
right.
I'm a literal black person, and they're like, "No, black women do not feel that way." Oh, my bad. If you could leave, that'd be cool. I am not used to having conversations like that because I'm black. We don't talk like that. When you say something to us, if it sounds crazy, I'm gonna say, "That sounds crazy." I'm not gonna smile and wait till you leave and then talk to my friend. I'm still gonna talk to my friend behind your back too, but, like, I don't
I'm
know.
going to tell you it sounds crazy. I
Especially if
mean,
I'm on
I
the internet.
since black people join fewer cults. Like
$1,000%.
we have, one of the answers that we have about what stops people from joining cults is very early on after the first or second interaction, somebody in their life says, "Nah, that's crazy. Let's go." And that's kind of like what you're talking about all the time. And that even goes back to that, like, if we came together, we're going to leave together thing versus like, I don't know, she met a guy. She went home with,
Right.
and it's like, well, that's how you get left. And like, not for nothing, the
Yes.
story of Ted Patrick, who was Black Lightning, he was snatching people out of cults in the 70s.
Oh,
Okay, so in the 70s, this black man who worked for Governor Reagan in California as like a constituent representative, like community organizer, his
okay.
son and his son's black friend, right? They went out for the night and they like didn't come back and nobody could find them. And like by the time they came back, like the community was looking for them and they knew something was wrong because like the two anyway, and they had gone and like almost kind of fallen for the children of God thing. And they were telling the dad, they're like, it was so weird, blah, blah, blah. And we kept like they kept trying to separate us, but we kept staying together, and then we left.
Mm,
And Ted Patrick goes undercover, right? Like he almost falls for it. He ends up being this kind of like snatch and grab, which I don't totally approve of, but I do think that
right, no.
as a black man, he was doing it better than the other white men involved in a lot of ways.
Mhm, I
But
bet.
I was just thinking about that thing of where like, and his second the kids didn't come back together, the teenagers, it was like the whole community was like, okay, what's going on? And
Right.
like this actual sort of like community care and community attention.
It's everyone's job, right? It's community policing. It's not, there's someone's gotta be the garbage man. No, we all take care of our garbage. Like, it's thinking differently about what has to be, what's gonna be. Because in the, like, 8 pillars of caste, one of it is, like, something about occupational hierarchy. Like, there has to be jobs that
Yeah.
lowly
And
people do. No?
but I also think it's, if it's not a hierarchy, then it's not lowly. Like, so I think about like in my dream world, right, where the gig economy is not ruined by like big capitalism, right? Like everyone gets to make their money just doing their thing, right? So I'm like some enterprising young person could buy a gas truck and just drive around neighborhoods and gas up people's cars. Like I would pay a premium to never have to go to a gas station ever again, right? And I bet somebody, like, all people want in jobs is dignity, right? Somebody could buy a garbage truck and be the garbage person. And if they were treated as a much respect as everyone else in the community because they're doing a job that none of us want to do. So, like, thanks, you're amazing. Like, somebody would do that job.
Right, but, like, it would
There's no
be
real,
something.
like, dirty jobs. I think it's, like, how society treats the people who do those jobs.
Right, because you should be able to do that thing for yourself already, but
It's also
in these systems, you don't clean your own house.
and
You
this
don't
is
clean your own
also
toilet.
very relevant and timely because they're just now the Department of Education is taking all these women-dominated jobs out of being considered professional careers. and
Right.
it's like teaching and nursing and all that, and it's just about hierarchy,
Like, you
it's
still
just about
want
making
like,
the job less desirable to pursue as a career.
and, like, to who? Like, I don't know. It's already bad. It was
It's just
never
like
they don't need
but
to do that.
I think about this all the time because Americans are so weird about tipping culture, right? And, like, we have this concept that if we don't tip, there's no professional serve like, all your service is just gonna suck. Even though, like, you
Is
can
that
go
what you white people are telling themselves?
that's what white people think, yes, that's what American white people think, and it's so weird to me because 'cause I'm like, "You don't tip your doctor, do you?" "No, and the service is fine." But
That's
then when you
crazy.
talk about capitalism, they're like, "Well, nobody would be a doctor if you couldn't make, kinda endless amounts of money." And I was like,
Think they
I
know
was just
anything.
ranting about this today where I'm like, it's literally called a vocation. Like throughout time, people become the medicine man or woman. Like people want to do that job. It is intrinsically motivating and people will want to do it in a system that treats them fairly
They shouldn't wanna be a doctor because it's what the
because it makes
heck?
them money.
They
Right.
don't even want what they're saying. Like, who gives them the lines? The social scripts are so weird to me because do you believe what you're saying?
Right.
I feel
Well, it's funny, even like I was told since I was young I should be a lawyer. I think it's the autism. And
yeah, I got
now
that.
Now my mom is a court reporter, and she always tells me I would make a great lawyer, and I'm like, "Yeah, but no thanks," right? Like, my days of 80-hour weeks are over, and it's like, instead of
You
it
can
being
make a great something and not be a thing.
like, "I would be a great lawyer," my friend left private practice where she was on partner track, and she went to work for the IRS because she's not allowed to work more than a 45-hour week, and so it's great. Like, she's a lawyer, she likes what she does, and it's like it's just funny to me, but it's like, no, if you wanna be a lawyer in today's America, like, you're gonna work 80 to 120-hour weeks, and you're just supposed to deal with that going in,
Yeah,
and I'm like, "No." Like, I do
I
think
got
I'd make a great lawyer, but no thanks.
sure, sure. Right. Another, ooh, like that means you spend all your time studying the decisions of dead white men. That's what I hear, and I listen, I have friends that are lawyers, and I try really hard to separate the fact that they enjoy it, I believe. I didn't think they did, I thought we were all out here pretending, and then I met them, and they were, like, really into their thing, and they do it because 'cause they're Black women, so of course, right? They do it for their reasons, but, like, at the same time, it'd be great if we didn't have I'm sorry, a legal system in which you need the book what are we talking the precedents. It has to have had happened before for us to know what we should do, like, you're it makes no sense. It's a show. It's a show. We're putting on shows, and who has the best narrator? And money makes you get off from crimes. I'm. What are you saying? I'm sorry. Like my little brain
I was
is
just
trying
writing
to.
up okay, so I figured out that the best way to organize my new book on all American fascism is to just go through the fascism checklist, but talking about America. Duh. And the first thing on the fascism checklist is a cult of tradition. And so I've just been talking and I've just been talking about, like, constitutional originalism, right? It's like
What?
presuppose
What's
you
that?
know what this is? Oh, constitutional originalists, more than half of our Supreme Court, they think that the Constitution can only be interpreted exactly the way it is written, and if it's not in the Constitution, then it can't be taught. It's just very, like, it presupposing that
I hate it. I hate
was
it here.
perfect. Constitution was just a perfect document that was born,
The Supreme
which is really
Court.
silly since it has like 27, 28 amendments or something, right? And even like the founding the writers of the Constitution, right? James Monroe was not an originalist, like did not think this document was supposed to be perfect and for all time.
Hear what he said. I
I
don't know
know
that man.
because
Sorry.
cult
I understand.
tradition.
But see, like,
Because
it's like we're
cult
too
of
deep in.
tradition. And even you'll
We're
love
too
this
deep
one.
in.
I there's a book you'll love this. There's a book called The Wordy Shipmates, and it's about the Puritans, and she talks about how, like, the Puritans specifically were very into reading and writing. And so because the Puritans came over and built a lot of society focus on the written word, emphasis on the written word. Like, not all societies developed that way, but this
It's just storytelling.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I
no,
mean?
I thought it made sense with what you talk about, where it's
No, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
the Puritans specifically
for
were
sure.
so obsessed with the written word,
Yeah. Well, of course
like
they were, because they
yeah,
made it up. They
that's
get to
why
say, "Well, actually, this is the truth. I'm deciding right now." And everyone has to care about what those people
yeah,
right on my board.
and that's exactly what they did, right? They made up their tradition. They said, "We are the new Israel, and we are going over here, so now our suffering is special. It's not just, like."
Yeah, why are we listening to them? So I'm working on the traditions because I'm like, especially white people, traditions. Why should
Yeah.
you be keeping? You
What
should be.
tradition?
So I have up here trends and traditions of advantage taking, experience conflating, meaning
Oh,
making,
oh, oh.
memory debating, confusion creating.
Okay,
Traditionally.
so speaking of tradition, this is actually very timely because I'm going to a Black Thanksgiving.
Congratulations. That's really exciting. It is. I think it's
Other
gonna be great.
other
I
than
don't know.
keeping my mouth shut, what should I do?
Oh, yeah, I do. I will bring drink. I was gonna say bring
Mm,
cups. Don't
So
bring up.
I do my part for the men of America, right? And I think it's funny because people always say that I hate men, but like I show up to Thanksgiving with a retired special operation helicopter pilot with whom the men can stand outside and drink beer and deep fry stuff because he does a deep fried turkey.
He does?
Which
Okay.
I think it's a white Texas thing, but that's like our thing that we bring to Thanksgiving often is we
A
bring
deep fried turkey?
the deep fried turkey. And the men, at least the white men of America, absolutely love to stand around outside and drink beer and deep fry things.
Hmm.
And I know
Well,
that like my husband's best friend who invited us to Thanksgiving is like excited to do that part, but I don't know if that's like
listen,
thing
they'll be
that
fine. They'll be
more people
fine.
are interested in.
They know your way. It's all right, you know? I was just saying I wouldn't expect like, "Oh, they're really excited to eat some of your food." Probably
Yeah.
not. You know what I mean? And of
I
course,
never
my
I
side,
never bring white food to parties either.
they will accept it and they'll smile, but, like, if you see a lot of face down plates, that's usually a sign that we know of. We always have this image of the face down plate in the garbage. We
Yeah,
don't wanna make you feel bad,
yeah.
but
My husband's from people that think that mayonnaise belongs in salad, it's
unless it's potato, and that don't make any sense, and I wouldn't say suggest bringing a potato salad. They're not gonna eat it. It's more just that, right? So bring some drinks.
I'm
Nice.
bringing turkey, booze, and something fun from Knitting Cult Lady for the hostess.
Okay.
That's what I'm going
And
with.
selfishly, I am curious to hear what they would think about what you do in this podcast. I think that's
I'm
really
good.
interesting. And now but then of course you don't want to be like, I know a black person. I get it. I get it. But things will
I'm
happen. I think
very
you'll see
conscious about
something.
that whenever I'm like, yeah, because sometimes I want to describe it as an anti-racism podcast, which I think it is, but that's usually, I guess, more for white people. And I think when I'm talking to black people, I usually say, I have a podcast with a black woman, and we are getting together and knitting and crocheting and deconstructing the cult of white supremacy. Um,
Yeah.
which I do think is also the more accurate description of what we do here is we talk about whiteness and
Right.
white
And
supremacy and
anti-black
all of
racism.
yes.
Yeah. Being
But like it's
specific.
less even about that. But for some reason, I feel like to a white woman, if I say, "Oh, I have an anti-racism podcast," I'm going to get that kind of white woman that wants to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
shoot. A
it's
safer white
interesting
woman is the
though.
goal.
I haven't really thought out loud about how like I do talk differently to people or like,
I
I did
think
this
you should
one.
call it anti-racist podcast to them. I think if you say, I honestly think if I were them, right, and I'm not sure, if you say I have a podcast with a black woman, it almost feels like I'm friends with a black woman, and it's like it pre-qualifies something, and that's not really what you're trying to do. I think saying it's an anti-racist podcast makes sense, but with a black woman
Yeah,
I'm like it's like you're learning a
yeah.
little bit more. I'm learning too.
That's why I say I try to be very careful because I don't want it to sound like I have a black friend. I want it to sound like I'm not just a white lady with an anti-racism podcast, like,
Right.
I'm doing it in concert with someone who knows what they're doing.
Right, because it shouldn't be just you doing an anti-racism podcast, of
But I
course,
also
it's
think,
like
like, it's like anything else where, like, in the hypothetical, it sounds like it could get complicated, but in reality, when I'm in the conversation talking about what I do, like, people know.
right, and it's in my name as well, so, like, that does some of the work, which is funny because I just got a comment from someone. I posted, like, a clip of one of our older episodes, like, 2 episodes ago or something, and someone said, "I was in a painting class and I was talking about something you said," "something you said, and the woman busted out laughing at your name and went and followed you immediately." And I think and to me, I heard, "That's a Black woman." And I don't even know if that's a Black woman that she's talking about, but it could be. I know that I remember, like
Need that, and I went and followed.
yeah.
Like
And
that.
most people and Black people, I love hearing Black people's reaction to hearing about me particularly. So I even less about, like, what you're doing, whatever. I'm just like, what do they think about what we're doing in terms of, like, I'm trying to make safe for white people, and you're like a product of what I'm trying to do in a way, but also like proof that it works. So, also, something I've been thinking about with white women, as much as like you guys don't have these conversations that you need to be having in friendship, you don't realize that, like, not you, white women online don't often realize that this for me, yes, we're friendly, we talk very frequently, but like, this is about whiteness and deconstructing anti-Black racism. And this is not a thing I would do if the world were safe for me.
Yeah.
And so, because someone had asked me, like, "Oh, how did you keep your apartment as you left corporate America?" It's like, I don't think you realize what that sentence is to me. Because like leaving corporate America was I had a literal little mental breakdown from realizing all of this and couldn't even process anything without, there was a lot of trauma involved. But I don't talk about that with y'all because you don't even realize I can't even say not you. I can't even say anything without the question. So I'm definitely not bringing you my actual literal trauma. You guys don't know much about me. And I just thought about it because we were talking, at Lizzie's house, and you had said something about me having like a good childhood. And I'm like, oh, oh,
No.
what you're is that what you're getting? And listen, I don't think anyone really had, and I don't know if that's an autism thing, but like I don't think anybody had a great childhood, especially you know in this place. I just haven't had any. I'm not going to talk to white people about things that I personally went through because you guys don't even know how to have not you. I'm gonna keep saying that, not real conversations. Like
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how you guys deal with real internal struggles because when you bring it to your friends, there's a scripted thing they're supposed to say, like, that's it. They don't go, oh, him. Because y'all get mad when we say, we hate your husband for doing that to you. Now you get mad. I'm surprised you haven't heard that before. You don't have people who care about you enough to ask questions. And because when we ask questions, it's like, why would you ask? This is because you ask rhetorical questions. Why would you stay? Like, you
Yeah.
already know they don't mean that question. It's so confusing. If I ever asked you why'd you stay, one, that's a weird question. But like, I would want to know so that we can work on whatever kept you there. That's a real question. Not, I feel like in whiteness is all about what and maybe who. When you talk,
Yeah.
when people do these stories, what and who, and then you get mad when we go, why, how,
Yeah. Well,
what?
and
No,
this
no, those are the important ones.
it's funny because I keep saying this about cults. It's like people don't understand cults because they don't get to the why. We get stopped at the what. You did what? And then it's like, oh, I would never, I would blah, blah, blah. And nobody just kind of like gets curious.
Right.
And we've like talked so much about curiosity on this show and like how helpful it is to just
This like
other
automatic
experience.
that would never happen to me is such a weird, unhelpful, inefficient way to consume. But I guess that's how you just consume things. You don't digest it. You think those people are dumb. Oh, that was a weird thing to think. And you just assume you could never be like them. Why? Because you're more what? Human? That's what it sounds like to me. Like
Yeah.
you watch everything to say that I'm better than that.
I could never. Yeah.
I would never. That is so boring. I can't even understand. But if imagine you're going through something and that's all you have around you, that's how your mom talks to you. I'm just thinking, like, I have empathy for white women. Look at me. I'm nice. I'm like, if your mom is like that, because my mom wasn't like that. She listened to me, right? Because there is a history, there isn't that toxic positivity, toxic positivity in Judaism. It's just not. If anything, it's like people be suffering, okay? Suffering, suffering. It's not like, no, here's some advice to help you. Advice? Why do you think you guys can give advice? And with this Danish deception or people who come online to share their stories, I'd like to ask them, why are you sharing your story? If it's to educate people, who are you? I went through something. Okay. Yeah. What did you learn? Like, if anything, it
Yeah.
should be from your experiences. How did you get there? That's why Risa Tisa, who did a Who the F Did I Marry? She came at it with, this is how I got. And this is why I was susceptible because I wanted this image. I wanted this. And we could
Yeah.
understand that. And
And
it also involved wanting him.
this is part of, I think, very important for my audience as people who are recovering from trauma and recovering from high control groups, which is, I think, like, you don't always have to be trying to teach, you know? And so I had,
Right.
and very likely this may have been a black woman or a non-white woman who said this, but I remember I got in this like very kind of important online networking group. And I was like, oh, I'm, Daniella, and I'm want to write a book about my life and like growing up in a cult and then being in the army and like all the things I learned. And somebody was very bluntly, and it was just like, honey, leave leave off all the things you learned part. Just like learn to tell the story. And I think
Mm,
like there's a big difference in like I think like content creators and like influencers, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Someone that wants to come on here and be like, "Oh, I wanna show you all this stuff and all this." Meanwhile, where to me, when I got really successful was when I was not like, "Oh, let me show these people all this stuff I know," but like, "I'm about to do this big research project." Like, let me go start taking this stuff, like, sort of as I'm learning it and figuring out as it applies to your life.
It
Right? Because
applies. Right.
that's how, like, you get wisdom, I think, from other people, because they can, like, show you how to apply it to your life instead of this, like, lecturing and teaching, and it
And this is what I learned. Ugh, now I'm not listening to you. Like, and that's why I didn't listen to this girl because the way she was talking was very much like, I'm gonna let you know what happened to me so you don't. I was never. You got when she said 6'3", blonde, blue eyes, well, now I don't relate because it's not he can be those things and you can find him gorgeous. That is not the point. It was the look, guys. I'm telling you he was gorgeous. This. That didn't prove it to me, but okay. Like here are the color of his features. Great. Like it just from a sensical point
that's what
doesn't
made it,
connect.
yeah.
And realizing all that is like trust your gut. And because then it came out and then she was like, guys, race? No. You would not have believed. Anyway, and that's what being in community is. It doesn't always feel good. Sometimes that's what tough love is black
Yeah.
women saying, girl, you should have known at this point. Or especially with she was being Nigerian American and they are known for scamming in the internet world, right? But because he's white, you would have never, yeah, whatever. But I just think that it's okay, like to be told something you haven't heard before or you
Yeah,
didn't agree with. Like it's
and
fine.
also, like, that's how community makes you safer. Is that
Right.
sometimes you get told, right? Because along with this, like, it's the perfectionism thing again, and, like, so people will ask me because of what I do, they're like, "Oh, do you think you're, like, immune from cults?" And I'm like, I mean, I think I have learned a lot, and I know a lot, and I'm very skeptical, but the only reason I might feel possibly safe is because I have enough people in my life who would be like, "Nah, no, you
Mhm.
know? Like,
And
that's
and like
what
it's
it is.
knowing, right? And it's knowing a lot of people and knowing a lot of information, but not just knowing. It's accepting that when that person comes to you and says, "I'm worried for you," that you can't just be swayed that easily. Ah, hater. You don't get it. You should be like, well, she do be right about me. And that's why it's not about having a big circle, but or just certain action triggers where you're like, if this MLM, I remember just realizing if someone asks me for money before I make any money, that's a bad sign to me. And I had that already in my head before attending one of these things for somebody else. They hadn't gotten me. I got a man in my life. And see, that's when they get you. But I was like, no, I know he was very into it. I was like, but you have to pay first. And to me, that was it. That's all I needed to know. It can be that simple. You just have to be open to hearing the information before when you're in your down times. But it seems like white people are never chill. You guys are never calm down enough to not be like, I don't know. Nothing's happening to you ever. And you're always in a rush. Information to tell you something and that I have to tell you to slow down. Sense of urgency is going to be the hardest one, but the most impactful one to work through for white people. Because then you can see all the other stuff. You can see worship of the written word when you sit down and go, yeah, or just like this rhyme thing, dog eat dog or whatever. You
It's
can sit down
even
and go, dog eat dog.
it's
No,
so
they
interesting.
don't.
I haven't thought about the sense of urgency related to, like, white people's current panic and, like, the way people react when I'm just like, "Yeah, he's probably gonna be the president for 3.5 more years, and it's gonna suck, and we're gonna be doing this fascism tug of war," and there's this very, like I mean, people literally want a military takeover just because they can't bear waiting and seeing what happens, and,
But
like
then, like, in their heads,
or
they're not thinking,
even just like, yeah, the country's gonna suck for 4 years, like, that's
right. And but what happens after that? Like, they don't see past it because that's
for
what sense
this
of urgency
yeah,
does. You
right,
know,
it keeps
you
on
want
the
the
right
takeover, then what? Then the military's in charge of you? Do you know what kind of people go in that? Sorry, white people. Let me just say white people, right? You can critique it. Clearly, look what happened. Like, and I know with black people, we're being more honest with ourselves and everything. And I think that's also why cults don't work as much because there is this underlying assumption that people be lying, especially white people. Okay. Maybe I don't know exactly what it is. I don't need the proof. I don't need to know exactly what the scam is to be like, it's a white person scamming.
I mean, there's a very interesting discussion as and very sensitive discussion, but, like, as to why Black people choose to go into the branches that they go into in the military.
Hmm.
And I think one of the one that is very common is ordnance and logistics. So it starts off as ordnance, which is so guns and ammo, and then it turns into all of logistics. But it's a support role. And what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of young white boys drinking the Kool-Aid and like rushing into the infantry. And there's a lot more non-white folks going, don't know if I trust that the government has my back. So I'm gonna get on the social elevator, but I'm gonna go here where I'm probably gonna be safer. Oh, and it is also a branch that gives you a lot of good job options when you get out. So it's like, it's not sexy, like they
No,
call
they
the
don't
infantry,
want to go to
but like
war.
you have no job options when you get out of the infantry. Is like there aren't that many civilian companies that hire you to march around and shoot at things.
Interesting.
But like
Yeah. It's like,
you've
why?
run an operation to bring enough porta potties to Afghanistan for a deployed brigade? Like,
Mm,
someone who works in hotel chains understands what that means, you know? So it's like
yeah.
there are smarter branches to go into when you're not thinking of I'm devoting my whole life as a soldier. You're thinking of
It's about dedication
I'm going
and
to
sex.
use this I'm gonna use the social elevator for what it
Yeah.
gets me. I'm gonna do my best, but
Mhm.
I'm only gonna kind of drink Uncle Sam's Kool-Aid so much
Right.
because
They were
and quite frankly, because the military has a really bad history of treating Black people very poorly. And so it, like, to me, makes perfect sense.
right. And that's like, that's the difference. And that's why you got to talk about race because that is two very, 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 very different reasons for
Right.
signing up to be, because one, someone's got to do it. So you got to make it out and this seems safest and da 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 versus wanting to go to war. And I
Right.
know There's a lot of white boys out here who want to go to war, whatever that means. How do you grow up with that mentality? Those are very different. Okay. And then you all dress them all the same and treat the black ones terribly. And then when they get out, they're like, well, whatever.
Yeah. Writing a whole chapter about that in the new
It's
book, by
America.
the way. Why you want to go to war when you grow up
Yeah.
as
What
like
the heck is that?
family as first battleground and everything's a fight.
Well, that's really interesting because the reason I'm saying it is I rewatch Real Housewives all the time on OC, right? And one of these mothers is incredibly overbearing on her daughter at like the whole thing. And then she's gets to this point where she's like, and this is maybe like 2008, I don't know. She's like, I think I want to be a nurse, but I've been getting recruited and my mom isn't listening, but I want to go. I want to go. But it's more just so you can tell it's like this push against her mom and her mom doesn't want her to go. She doesn't end up going, but I want to go to war. I want to, she says. She's blonde and she's a nurse and whatever. And it's just like, oh my God. She want to leave this mom so bad that this is in her head. She had just said like, I just want to get out of this area so she can, whatever. I don't know. But it's like, and that's not someone who's going to go hurt people essentially, but like, this is what's happening behind the gates of the OC, right? And even in these
Yeah.
very
But
aspirational
it is
places.
part of the brainwashing too, you know? And I talked about this in Uncultured where I'm like, what so we are at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, which is not where they train the infantry. Okay. Everybody who went to basic training with me is not going to be a ground fighter. Okay. They are all going to be support of some kind or the other. The only exception is some of us were officer candidates. So the male ones, in theory, could go be infantry. Okay. But
Mhm.
everybody is going to go be support. And yet the number one thing you run around marching as a kid is chanting as you're marching or running is, I want to be an airborne ranger,
Oh yeah,
right?
you're
So
right.
like
Yeah.
from day number one, well, I don't think they let you call cadence for like a week, but anyway, from the first time they start calling cadence, right? It's like they are brainwashing the hierarchy, right? Like, this is what you are supposed to want to do. These are the elite of our military.
They love going up. They say up higher, more up there, sky. I don't know.
And then when we get up there, let's jump out of it with a parachute.
And then that's how cool we are. Oh my God, guys. I need y'all to literally pick up a struggle, like one, a real on the ground one that exists already. I don't know, because like our lives are so different.
The the benefit of the struggle, doing it because it's hard. Like that's so much in military life, but it's also so much in white America and just like
Struggle is self imposed. It's not, it's like, then you want us to feel bad for you. And this is what I'm saying. You need to
I
have
know.
friends.
I know.
Y'all need to be better
Like
friends.
and, like, the way when you said that, I'm like, the way I tell you, I felt like such a badass when I was out at noon in Kandahar running sprints in the desert just because it made me hard.
Sorry. I'm like, I'm trying to control. My face has no subtitles. I struggle with it.
And this was literally when a special forces recruiter dude ran me down, special operations, and was like and came and tried to recruit me because they were like, "That's the kind of person we want." The person doing that craziness in the middle of the day for no reason, that's who we want.
Yeah, exactly. And see, that's what I was talking about being picked, right?
And
Is
this
it
is
really a
true.
win?
And
Is
this
it
is part of why I think the military likes cult kits, because it's easy to convince us to do
yeah,
wacky stuff. And
suffering
that
is
is
good.
part of white America, part of
They need to struggle more, not suffer, struggle. Get through some stuff. Yeah. Like real struggles, like actually hike up the mountain to see the view. Don't ride your e-bike up there and be like, same thing. It's not. I mean, I'm not a hiking person. That's white people stuff, all of that. But like, you know what I'm saying? Be on the journey. The shortcuts for white people, like your shortcuts. Like, look around. I don't know why
give
you
the
guys are the
journey.
ones so
Yeah.
angry and scared and sad and stuff because What?
And when I tell you, I think one of the points when I started actually healing was when I realized, like, I should not always be in a hurry to get to the next big thing
Right.
in my life.
Mhm.
Like, that's not the optimal way to live life. And it's
That's
funny
how
because
I felt too.
then I got to watch my husband a few years later come through that. And I don't know if it's a military thing, if it's a high control thing, but I think it's just like a whiteness thing of just like living to the next, like not
Looking forward only,
only
you know?
looking forward.
Only looking forward, and I saw this video and I wish it was like a video sent to me through a friend, but like in certain African cultures, there isn't really words for the future time. There's vast past. There's so much ancestry and history, and there is the present. And you can make time and like the way time is used and thought of in other places. What do you mean in what happens? You can't create a future, to be honest. Like white people just love predicting the future and saying what's going to happen and what you should be scared of and all that based on
I
no
know.
history except for the ones that the weird stories you guys tell like wooden teeth and stuff. And I don't what if you just sat down for 2 seconds and read an actual book from people like believe more in storytelling, not textbook, prescription thinking. This is how you think. This is why you're going to move forward this way. And it's wasted energy. You're not psychic. You're not that special to just know.
And whenever people, I mean, obviously a lot of what we all do as creators, I think, is a little bit of prediction. But when people ask me like what's gonna happen next, I'm always like, my crystal ball is in the shop for the next 3.5 years.
But like, what are you going
I
to do
don't.
with that information? It's so confusing to me. Like, what
They're gonna
about
come
now,
back and
though?
tell me I'm wrong. That's what they're gonna do. That's what they wanna that's what they
Oh my
want.
God, you're right. Yeah.
Love it.
Tell us how
And literally,
annoying.
part of what I think people don't understand is one of the realisms, and I'm not that wrong, is because I don't dabble in predictions, you know? Like,
Like, there's pattern recognition, and
there's
I remember
pattern recognition and there's some yeah.
but what do you do? Why are you asking? Why do I like they're just so comfortable just because I'm just like, you don't understand. You have such limited energy. And I guess that's also it, right? Like the why am I talking and the way white women have responded to it. I always talk about this and just like how it changed their life. I'm like, what? Where? And that's why I'm kind of like stuck in terms of what I want to do moving forward. Well, I know now. I think I'm going to do a do's and don'ts of listening as an ally or like active listening for allies or something because I want to say the things I got to say, but I got to give a do's and don'ts. Like, don't ask rhetorical questions. Don't speak for a while. And there'll be some do's, and take things seriously, not personally, stuff like that. But like, I got the focus and your energy is finite. And to spend all of your white energy scared and trying to evoke scared from
Agreed.
another person for the purpose of I'm not sure what, it takes away the energy that could be spent on imagination, right? You're so
You
focused
need
on your image and controlling it. But like, what about imagination and community? You don't got time. In this climate, we exist. There was slavery. Like white people being like, at this time, this is really the bad. And I've said this before that the whole Trump is white people's worst president. Have you heard of Andrew Jackson? Like,
Mhm.
wake up. And that's part of like why I want, with the angry part of the angry knit. And I think it's really, I like that you're saying you're why Trump got elected because if you're angry, it's like angry because this and now it's, I'd rather you be angry that you didn't see for so long and that we're all being squished under whatever, or that you weren't educated on other people's experiences, not that they've gone too far because what do you mean? It was fine until
Yeah,
now.
you didn't
I
care
okay with
before.
racism, but I draw the line at reproductive rights for me. I draw the line at seeing it outside of in my neighborhood. If it didn't happen to black women, it wouldn't be happening anywhere near you. If you were listening right now to black women, you wouldn't feel so hopeless and like given up and I don't even know anymore. How could this? This isn't the country I knew. That's the problem.
Yeah, maybe you didn't know the country.
That's what I'd rather you be talking about, not why aren't you at the no king bitch. Don't be questioning black people. The distress
Did I
tolerance, they don't understand. Like,
did I tell you that I think this book that I'm writing is basically me trying to answer the question that you said, like, if white people don't figure out why he's president, then it doesn't matter if we get him out of the way.
yeah,
And me realizing, like, I feel like I've studied a lot of the world's tyrants, right? But, like, ask me how long I spent on Andrew Jackson.
right.
Like, right?
Mhm.
There's not a lot of that. Yeah, and
But
I think it
yeah,
is.
it starts from worshiping a
It
president.
starts with admitting that you didn't know that much. You didn't understand the history of your country, and then, like, but now you do.
Right. Start with radical awareness. As Dr. Romney says about with the narcissism, you have to start with radical awareness. I don't want to hear more shock and awe when slavery existed for hundreds of years. Do you know what kind of damage has to be done in order to do those were not slaves. Those were people who were the whole time saying I'm people think about how much has been done in order to make that seem like just
That's just how it was.
something white women were there, but also that it was hard. Okay, you know what? You need to be focused on like how and why you were able to live in a world where you didn't see or believe that black people were telling the truth about their own lived experiences. Because what do you think the benefit is to me? To get you to believe like more conversations with white people? Oh, great. To lie and say something is about race when it's not. It's like your attention
It's
is
like,
not the
but
goal.
why? Yeah. Why
Why would
why
I
would
do that? Do you think
and
it's
I
to
feel like
hear you
every
talk?
time this is so interesting with these hypotheticals because this is the same, not the same, but this makes me think of, like, so anytime in the military you bring up, like, going after people who rape people, they'll be like, "But what about false accusations?" And I'm like, "But," I always just wanna be like, "But what did you do to them?" Right? Like, why are they accusing you in the first place, you know?
Right.
Like, whenever
Let's talk.
people are like, "Oh, you're making this up, you're making this about race." Like, why would you want to make up something to talk about a bet, right? Like, why, like, if it wasn't a thing that had bothered you, why would you need to make that up to talk about that?
Right. Like what's the incentive? And if you think
Right.
the incentive is your attention, whoa, because you're not special. And that is so much in whiteness is the specialness because I've also been studying
Being
like
told that you're special.
that also the like hybristophiliacs, the people who are into serial killers and stuff. I want white people to really dig into their serial killing, loving serial killers. And I started a book called We Refuse about like black resistance and stuff. And I can't get to the intro because she said anti-black racism is a serial killer. And I was like, white people love serial killers. And they tend to be the serial killers. So like but the fact that y'all don't talk about race, you just go, whoa, this crazy thing is happening in this country a lot. Weird. Wait, it keeps happening. Look, let's make a movie about it. Bitch, if you don't acknowledge the whiteness, this is why it's happening. You come from a line of murderers. That's how you
School
got there.
shootings is a prime example.
Right. But you want to put metal detectors in black schools. That's gaslighting. And where do the guns come from? Why do you care? Why do we love, who are we protecting ourselves from? Where, who does stranger killings? And anyway, I think if we don't address the whiteness, you're not addressing anything. And this fear, I don't know what the fear is. Again, we're back to like this weird fear white people have. Why are you so scary? Like nothing's happening to you. All the things you fear are already happening to black people. And that's what makes you fear it, maybe. Like that's why they hung people so that everyone saw. So you could see just how bad it could be if someone crosses the line. We'll get over it. I don't care. It wasn't your bodies. Make it about race because then you'll realize, oh, that won't happen to me. Because I don't like when what women come in and tell me about all the things they're scared of. But oh, you're scared of going to jail? Get over it. Martin Luther King went to jail how many times? 29 times. Like if jail is so scary, I don't, or just don't
Yeah.
say it to me. Because if you think you can't, oh, I just the bar we have is just so different. And your comfort in saying it to me shows me way too much. Because it's one thing to know you feel this way,
Yeah.
but so, self-righteous and confident that one, I couldn't understand it unless you told me. Despite me being here looking at you, talking to you, but it's like seeing it as a hobby. And I guess that's where I get frustrated because I'm just like, white women see talking to them as a gift. For me, them listening is their payment. And especially, if they give a compliment about it, woo, they are doing the work. And that's hard for me to hear because I'm just like, oh my God. But knowing you guys aren't having real conversations in real life is hard. Is like maybe it helps me understand it, but I don't know what to do with that now. It's like, who am I talking to? And I have to do that work because in my real life, I talk to black women. In this work, I'm not talking to black women. What if they don't need to hear shit from me? And then if I'm only talking to white women, I don't want my audience to be only white women. That's scary. So I struggle because what I'm realizing is there is a gap. There is a gap and it's big and dangerous. And I'm trying to like build a bridge and people on the white side of the bridge keep bombing stuff. I don't know. They're like messing it up on that side. I'm like, oh, here's a bridge to the other side. And they're like, close the gap. No, we're not closing the gap. There's a gap. I'm going to bridge it with this thing. And they're like, we could share stuff. We got lots of stuff. You got lots of stuff. And you're just like, but I don't know. We're scared of you. It's a tough place to be right now because I'm trying to like, oh, that gap it's so much bigger than I thought. I thought it was like a little like, "Ah," like, and I'll just be over here talking and then I'll jump back over. But I jumped over, got a little deep in, and y'all are mean with smiles and like, you're doing me a favor, you know? And now I go back and I'm like, I don't know, guys.
I don't know if I want to
I don't know anymore. I don't know.
keep
I know
doing
it's still
it.
worth it, and I think it's still good, but it's like, ooh, the whiplash of caring. I don't know. White women are something else. The Christmas whites, the performativeness of existing. It's got to be exhausting, and I feel bad. Like somewhere, it's like I have empathy for it. I just don't want it in my house, and I don't want it in my conversations when I'm trying to actually help. I don't need other people
Yeah.
being like, "Well, maybe don't speak up for hypothetical racists." Like, if I'm telling you a story, are you sticking up for that's not how friends, ugh, doing it all backwards. You're supposed to assume good whatever.
I've been thinking about this a lot, that it's like the hypothetical support that you can rely on as a white person when you do bad things is part of it, right? So for like white boys in school acting up because they know and their families know that when the teachers and the principal are talking about it, they're going to be like, well, you have to give them another try because they're just well intentioned boys messing up, right? It's like knowing the because I've been stuck on this. It's like knowing the hypothetical support, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's been like in my conversations about Graham Plattner, it's really easy for me to point out in conversations about Taylor Swift, where they'll be like, oh, why hasn't she spoken in a month now? Right? She's clearly not going to. Why she decided to say nothing? Well, maybe it's because Israel threatened her family. Like, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah, got
think
too much
that
time.
subconsciously, white people know that. They know that they're going to be given the benefit of the doubt in anything that they do, which allows you to take more chances, allows you to do more things, right? And so
Mhm.
that's like, that was the first part of white privilege that I identified. And I didn't identify it really as the benefit of the doubt, but I was just like, everyone, I'm this indigent teenager in high school dropped in who's like in my off times, like working too much, smoking like a chimney, and hanging out with men who are way too old for me. But the teachers think I am the golden child, and that is the way I am treated. And I am going to school every day, showing up, doing my work, but like, so are many, many, many kids.
It's an easy performance. It's barely a performance, right? Because it's given. It's a given in your existence. There's this innate illusion of like innocence
And
that you just
it is
have.
the innocence, and this is something, I mean, that just this week, a lot of the language for me has been coming a lot more clear of, you had always said this, that like you can feel the oppression of things, you know, and, like, one time we went to the Bahamas for vacation and never again because it's just, like, the oppressive feeling is so bad to me there. But, like, whenever people were, like, putting this, like, white girl innocence on me, you know, which specifically in America comes along with this, assumption of sexual purity and just
Mhm,
kind of, like, innocence and purity in general when I'm from a literal sex cult. You
mhm.
know, it always felt like it didn't feel, like, nice, like, it felt oppressive. And I'm
Yeah.
just now realizing, you know, so first of all, I already know that purity is gonna be the number one word other than fascism in this next book, and maybe more because it's such a, you know, and this
It's
goes back to
fundamental.
the
Yeah,
tradition, the innocence, the blah, 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 you know? And it's like,
it's made up.
there's there's a definite thing that because I look like an innocent little white girl, people help me more, people make excuses for me in my absence, and people just, like, give me the benefit of the doubt that I want to be good.
Yeah, but
There's
inversely,
no,
there's an
like, I
inherent
have to earn
and we get
respect,
the
you know,
opposite,
obviously as a woman, yes, but
right? Like, when Black people speak, it's they're trying to get your
right.
something. I'm trying to manipulate you out of your attention, race. It doesn't even matter. There's just, like, something why you're obsessed with and is that me caring is a sign of danger. Me being obsessed with white women for some reason is some kinda insult to me, I'm not really sure what. You get rent free in all your heads, okay? You got me. I love my mom.
There's definitely an aspect of, like, neurotypical where they just, like, they don't understand interest, like, a deep interest topic,
Guess.
or they're just very upset, like, people are upset that I talk about cults so much and clearly enjoy it, and people are upset that you talk
Yeah.
about it so much, and,
Yeah,
like,
they just want me to shut up.
this is what you spend your time on, and I think it's because there's an aspect of, like, yes, this is our job, but also this is just clearly something we have both studied in our free time and have lots of experience in because that's the waters you swim in, and, like,
Right.
pay attention to this.
Right, it's like and I'm seeing so like I said, there's a gap. I knew there was a gap because I knew from talking about what my interest was to Black people, them saying, what do you mean? They know what they're doing." And I was like, "Now, yes, some of them, and they were right more than I thought they were, obviously, but there still is a gap, and I know that there are women, spicy whites, or somewhere in the middle, that
Yeah.
are doing things that and it's for Black people, right? So it's for the Black women at the office who are just have one less person touching their hair, and me remembering that does help. Like, I am not doing it for white women, and I have to remember that, and I love when a Black woman just comes in and goes, "Exactly," to something I'm saying, and I'm just like, "Right, okay, okay." That's why I said it, not that I wasn't sure,
Also
but
think for the white women, you know, it's like it's just more than you possibly could have imagined, even if you did wanna do it, I think. So, like, you know, so one time I was in my kitchen and my husband was upstairs taking a shower, and I looked up and I saw a water stain on the roof, right? So, I go I obviously, I wanna deal with that, right? And I'm like, "We need to fix this problem." I go tell him, "Stop, blah, blah, blah." A little bit later, he comes downstairs, jumps on the counter, punches his hand through the roof, and just starts tearing the ceiling apart. Now, my husband is a person who is qualified to assess this,
I
but
assume so. Who wouldn't just
the picture I'm trying to draw here is that I didn't actually feel like I wanted my whole kitchen ceiling to be ripped open that morning, to be covered in debris, to have to deal with everything that was found and had to be fixed, and then to, like, still have a patch in my ceiling today that has never been painted because that's where his fascination for the project ran out. You
it's
know?
done.
So it's like I keep coming back to this analogy of, like, white privilege is almost like this, like, little root or thing that's popping up, and you're like, "Oh, what's that?" As a white woman, you're like, "I wanna know more." And then you grab and then, like and then
Yeah,
I
it's
think
all
this
in
is
there.
all was all deconstruction, but I because and again, because I know I genuinely wanted your content. I know there are others out there who genuinely want it, and I want
Yeah.
your audience to also hear that, like, just because it's overwhelming, you should keep going, you know?
Yeah, and I would see it as interesting and opportune, but because I have different connections to women in my life, and just that gap, I think, is where it sits. Like, you guys
Yeah.
aren't taught to
Well, and I
be
just think,
genuine
like,
with each
it's
other.
gonna because for all the reasons that it is buried and hidden and so deep and in everything, like, it's gonna screw up more of your life than you think. At least at
Yeah, yeah,
first, right? Like, it's gonna tear things up, it's gonna make for some very uncomfortable conversations,
yeah.
and it the
And
other thing is, like,
it's a
if
shovel you
you're
pick one. It's a good
and
one.
if you're a white person doing the work, you're not always gonna be in a world that appreciates that, Like, you're not always gonna be surrounded by other white people that wanna do that work, and I think that's great. I think that's where we need to be. This is great because this is coming out around the holidays, so it's like, go agitate some hard conversations about
Yeah,
race
and then
at
gift them a
your
Patreon subscription to White Woman Whisperer, because apparently you can gift that for the holidays and be like, "I just wanted to have fun conversations with you. These are interesting." I view quitting differently than white people do. I think in Black communities, we don't feel as stigmatized by getting fired than white people, because systems, right? Oh, an employer didn't get everything out of you. You didn't pretend, and that's why we don't work in corporate so well, because we know we're here for the job, not for the family. Because I got family. You guys don't have family, or you don't like your family, or whatever. They go to work to get away from their family. That's not why we're going to work. We have to, just like military thing. It's like, oh, and you feel the difference, and white people feel the difference. They're like, they don't like that feeling that this is only for the money. And I think, I don't know, there's just something to realize that it's different, and that's fine, but it's cool to have a new plan. You're not starting all over. I think it's cool to go, I was going down this road, and then I couldn't hack
Oh,
it, or, corporate America, I left. I did feel some failure vibes, but we have to push past that, because, like, that's not a
yeah.
real thing. I didn't fail in
I
class.
also keep thinking of this, like, drink the Kool-Aid, right? And, like, not everyone drinks the Kool-Aid as much, right? So,
Mhm.
like, I think, like, there's some embarrassment when you stop drinking the Kool-Aid and you put the glass down.
Yeah.
You drink just like when you drink too much and the next day you gotta text people and apologize, you
Yeah, you
know?
got anxiety they talk about. And listen, and I wanna, like, that's why sometimes I give my examples where I'm like, I had this weird thing in my head for a while that I never really said out loud, but it was like, I had never had weed in my hair. And I had that as, like, a thing. I remember when I went to prom and I was like, I'm gonna get a hairstyle that doesn't involve weave, and that will keep my streak of never having. That was a very anti-Black weird thing. That was a purity thing that I just in my head had, and randomly had to be like, "That was weird." Anyway, I don't have to tell people that. I never did. I didn't proclaim it on the internet, didn't tweet it, nothing like that. But, like, it got to all of us. You'll be
Yeah.
alright as long as
But
you
that's
acknowledge.
also why I think it's people like you and me that have to do this work, Rebecca, because we're the ones that can admit and still realize, right? Like with everything more that I write, especially about the military, I'm like, "Oh, I drank the Kool-Aid." Like,
Right,
I drank
it's
I drank the
reflective.
Kool-Aid harder than most people because I had to, because I'm such a questioning, thoughtful person, which is the only way I was allowed to get there. And it is embarrassing to have to be like, "Yeah, I drank the Kool-Aid too much. Now I have to recover from this, but I can also now critique this world because I know it and I
And you want
understand it."
people to stop drinking the Kool, like, it's a
Yeah.
concern for other people drinking it, especially because I feel like I recruited people into corporate America, or even I fought, whatever. I'm just like, "No!" Especially Black girls. I'm just like, "Don't do it." I don't know, don't look up to the elders in it, because they had a different experience than you, and whatever, I'm the best one to speak about it, because I was speaking about it then. Back when I was
Yeah.
in it, I was, like, so proud to be in it because I drank it. It's like, you should be
I mean,
okay
it
with feeling
just
I was in a bad
I'm gonna
relationship
think
for
about
a
this a
while.
lot where it's like, because this is also true about like, the leadership research in transformational leadership, which women are better at, shows that, like, the people who are the best at it are the people that can be in an organization, but, like, still keep themselves separate somehow.
Mm.
And I always explain that with, like, we all know dudes who are in the military, and then we know dudes who think they are the military, you know? And,
Right.
like, the cultier ones are those ones. And so there's
Mhm.
also, like, the level to which you interact, you know? There's a different we are all operating in toxic systems because all of our systems are toxic, but there's, like, a different level of buy-in that you can
Yeah.
have. And I think
Right. Right.
basically
Right.
one of the things we're trying to do now is just help people understand, like, you don't have to buy in that hard.
Yeah, like, I know you're struggling.
The journey with me, and I'm actually really glad this conversation about Taylor Swift is happening because she's starting to come to stand as just basic white girl, which I know she always did for the non-white girls, but, like, everyone's starting to see it really, really good now.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, I did that. Like, I bought in so hard that, like, I can be that. And
You're
now I
just like
just
us,
now
we're
I
humans.
want people to understand that it's like, yeah, you don't have to buy in that hard, you know? Like,
Right, and if you and just it because you do for a while doesn't mean you can't go, "Ooh, I really got in there for a bit. That's they got me. I was love bombed a bit." It's okay. Yeah. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to double down. You can bail. Bail, I always just say, bail on the tail. You're chasing your tail trying to I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Okay, I got it. It was worth it. Okay, I got it, and it just tastes like tail. But I had to because you didn't. You didn't. It's fine. Join us over here. We talk about it.
yeah,
Like bring it down a couple levels, and that purity of perfection. Like, let me tell you what I've learned. You just got left by that man. You didn't even leave the man you're telling us about. So if you're not starting with that, you're not
yeah,
ready. Give it some time. And, like, that's been important to me, I think also slowing down, sense of urgency. When you get out of this thing, give yourself time to see it all, and, like, don't think you're gonna just pull it all out the drain, you know? No, it's in the foundation of your house. It's not gonna work through the drain. You gotta call somebody for that, and her name is White Woman.
like, I know I like how you're saying don't do this, but, like, someone wrote a whole book proposal that she thought she was gonna write for a book deconstructing whiteness right after she was asked to testify against ex-husband for being a white supremacist. Like, right after. I thought I was gonna write a whole book in the year after I got that information, and I am, like, so happy that I didn't.
But you
'Cause
didn't.
first of all, like, that would have been really, really hard and really forced the journey in a way that
Yeah,
I didn't need
you
to.
can't, you know? I wish we could because even I started writing right away, and I've been writing. I've got no you've seen, I've got notebooks, they're all over. But I think that's just part of my process, and whatever it ends up being, it ends up being. I don't need to push right because there's a
There's
lot.
nothing wrong with writing, you know, and I have been writing and talking about
Mhm.
white supremacy since then, but it's about that I'm gonna teach. I'm gonna
Yeah,
make a product out of it that I'm gonna sell you. Like, I already know I can come through this and package this and make it a thing, you know, and I think I could've. I'm very glad that I'm this and, you know, like, this journey needed to happen, and it's even, you know, so I have a workbook that comes out with the book, and I'm like, it's kind of a whole little, like, mini deconstruction. Still gonna take you 10 years to deconstruct, y'all. Sorry to tell you. Going through my workbook in 6 months is not going to be a replacement. Like, it's gonna
for your
help.
whole life? Come on,
It's gonna
you
help.
know?
It's not gonna be a replacement for, like, the actual decade of work that you have to do, and just, like, the we had a conversation at my friend's house, right? My white Jewish friend's house, and so then, of course, once you were gone, we had more conversations, which meant to her talking about topics to other people in their life, and so it's like, you need to have time to
Right.
have those realizations and to have those conversations with other people and understand where all that stuff comes from in your
That's
life.
why it's digestion and not consumption. I remember saying that so long ago. I felt like influencers were is consumption, and content creators or educational creators or something are more digestion material. Like, it has to sit with you. You hear it, okay, but you have to come in contact with it in real life, unfortunately. And then, that's where life happens, not in the performance, the image, and this is what I learned. Mm,
Which goes back to the story, right? Because, like, once you tell a good story, like, you're telling people what you learned without ever having to say, "And I learned."
yeah,
It's one of
this
those
is the
things
agenda for the meeting, and this is what I'm gonna tell you, then you tell
as
them,
I've
then you tell them.
in writing, everyone wants to say, "I'll never forget," because it sounds so dramatic, and it's like, if you're writing about it in your life story, we know that it made an impact. Like, we know that you never forgot, and that's why you're writing about it.
I'll never forget. That's so white. And it's
And
just like,
it's like,
believe me, I did, I guess. I'm here.
let me tell you the whiteness, right? So I had a chapter at the end of Uncultured, which is storytelling, and I still had a chapter which was, here's everything I've learned in my master's, and this is how smart I am about group behavior. It had citations. It had citations. And three, in fact, white ladies in my life tried to tell me that maybe that wasn't the right thing. And it wasn't until my editor was like, no, honey, no. And I remember being like, oh, but how? And then, Rebecca, I just took every idea and made sure it was in the story
Yeah.
somewhere, you know? And
Yes.
so I really, and it was a much better way to do it. And people are being taught without knowing they're being taught just by hearing the story. And it all works out. But it was like,
That's the
I did it.
value of
Yeah, and I
storytelling.
remember being so bothered because I was like, but I want to be a group behavior speaker. And how are people going to know that I'm good at speaking on group behavior if I don't kind of like
Prove
show you
yourself at the
my
end.
academic creds here? Exactly.
Right. To who?
Which,
Like, when you
yeah,
zoom out, you start seeing like, okay, but what is your goal really? To prove yourself smarty McSmartster? Got it. To who? People who just judge people, you know? And realizing like doesn't matter how much you prove yourself, if that's the way they're going into the book, you know? And I think white people really have to think when we talked about the whole camera thing and, I'm gonna, if you're gonna go check to see if it's true, who are you checking with? Who's writing this book about? I mean, I'm sure it exists, right? But also in
right.
storytelling, that is how people and culture gets passed, and that's how you know. Why would I tell you this? Because I made it up? Why would I make up something about racism in front of white people? There's a lot I could talk about, like I said, there's just so many things that could be racist, but I know already about the lens thing and the camera for whatever reason, but it's just
But also, now you just got me thinking about how many authors of books or articles about cameras being racist were told, no, there's no market for that.
right?
So
There's
when you
just
talk
no
about like,
reason for it to exist
who are you
in this
checking
system.
with?
Right.
Yeah,
And they'll
they're
say,
like,
I don't, well, what are the intentions of the person? If Shirley was the person they used it on, well, that's who they used it. That's not about race. Okay. You know what? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Because it's not about whether I'm right or wrong anyway. We were just having a moment where something I had to consider, you don't have to consider, which is when I come on here, I have three different colors of this type of shirt. I like wearing these on camera a lot because there's the white and I don't, whatever. But also, I don't like getting white stuff because I'm white, messy, but also like, just whatever, that was just a moment for us to connect and you to go, hey, that's a privilege. I didn't know. But instead, it's just that whiteness to be correct and to get the what I call white supremacy and to get the right answer, it hinders you from having a good conversation,
which I
one in
also,
which you learn.
yeah. And I think that is kind of what we're doing here. And that's what I'm proud of with this, because like that is what happened. You were like, oh, cameras are racist. And I was like, oh, huh, interesting, blah, blah, blah. And now, like, this has played into so many different conversations in different parts of my life. And then it's like, that's the point. It's
That's
just
it.
to learn, and I've spent 0 seconds of my life being embarrassed that I didn't know cameras were racist. So, it's
Why would
just
why would you? You're white. I know you're white. That's I shared it.
hoping that people can get the understanding that, like, you and me have fun doing this, at least I think, like,
Yeah. And
this
there's
is,
yeah,
and,
I think
like,
that's
it
where maybe
makes
people
me
get
win
confused, but
all the time, and there's plenty of times that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to go lie down," like, it doesn't mean it wasn't hard work, but it's
you didn't.
like, it's fun, it's good realizations, it's so many good goofy jokes, and, like, being privy
It
to so
feels
much.
productive,
That's
you
the
know?
other thing too. It's like ever since doing this work with you, like I just understand more about the world around me because I live in a very diverse world, which is America. And it's like I just get it more. I just get
Yeah,
it more when I'm hearing other conversations that I don't even need to be a part of, but I'm just like, "Oh, hey,
because
I
the
have this
pattern, right?
perspective."
Because like, the patterns are patterning, and we like patterns, and, like, to me, that's fun, but yes, it can be exhausting. It's like competitive critical thinking or something, but not actual competitive good, not competitive white people competitive.
Not white people.
Because white people competitive is like, there's only one white woman allowed at this table, and black women competitive is like, let's see who can jump rope the longest, and just
Or it makes me think
whatever.
of, like, a white person dance, like a formal dance competition versus, like, a dance off.
Right, versus just like a battle at the club or like a
Yeah,
talent
like a dance
show.
battle.
Yeah. So we could be having fun, but instead y'all want to give judgments into microphones while the kid is performing and make sure she's better next time in third place. Competition could be fun if it's just like for
Yes,
you
just
versus
dance.
you, or just like
Yeah,
let's just see what we could do.
trying to better something. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
you get it. Which makes me I feel better
Alright.
about it. Oh, that's good.
Thanks everybody so much for listening to our conversation today.
Thank
Please go
you.
follow Rebecca on her Patreon if you are trying to think of a gift to give someone for non-commercialized Christmas this year. This would be an excellent one. I'm actually gonna do this. I'm gonna send a gift to a friend and be like, "Hey, let's just chat once a month about these things."
Yeah, you
Like,
could just like pick a
that's so
video. It
cool.
can even
Yeah,
yeah. And I
yeah,
think white people could find safe white people that way. If you want to have better conversations, and not to just like, but just like at least that you know that about them. It's like when I come to spaces with you, it's like, okay, at least I know I can say white people, right? And at least in my space, white women, if you're gonna meet each other, you can expect white people stuff, but like fun.
yeah, and you can expect that other person to be willing to have these conversations with you,
Yeah, they're
you
not gonna
know?
go, well, so that's good. I like it.
"Hey, what broke your brain about Rebecca's content this week or this month?" You know?
Yeah, like, as it digests, you get to, like, talk to each other about it. I
Like,
think
I
that
do
would
this
be
with
so
my
cool.
mom about cult books, so this is very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be coming out with the do's and don'ts because, like, I'm formalizing them.
This is like your
So
precursor book club, Rebecca. Just,
right.
like,
No, so
gift a
I
friend
did one
gift a
episode
friend
of, like, this chatting on books, and people seem to like it, so I'm like, "Okay." I'm doing, like, the first Wednesday of every month, I think I'm going to at least, like, talk about a book I've read. That's all I'm promising, but, like, I really like it so far. I've done one
Love
thing at
it.
a time. Thanks. You
Alright.
inspired me. I was like, "All right." I'm pushing it off for avoidance reasons, and those are never good. That's not advice I would give myself, so I started it. I listen to white women sometimes. See? I learned too,
Just at the probably the correct ratio at which you should, which is sometime.
just sometimes. With some thought and reflection. It wasn't the first time you said it. It took 2 times and some thought and a week and a half, and I was like, "Okay, I buy it." So definitely
I
join
love
me
it.
over on Patreon for the book clubs. With first Wednesday of every month, Imma talk about a book. I did Cast. It's up there. I might do a Cast part 2, but next is gonna be all about love. So I'm excited.
Excellent. Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks so much. See you next week.
See ya.